Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so happy to be here once again with the wonderful Peggy Oberthier. And this time I get to interview her. So I'm really excited about that. And thank you, Peggy, for taking the time to answer some questions. And yeah, so why don't you begin by just sharing a bit about your story, what it is that you do, and how you became a medical intuitive?
Oh, thank you very much. Well, I think I've answered this question with Amy, but I think there's a few things that I missed out in the story.
Hmm.
So I guess I describe myself as a medical intuitive. My gifts are such that I can tune into a body and get downloads, images, messages about what's happening for that person on a physical, emotional, and a spiritual level. And then I have the ability to transmute or unblock or help that person shift whatever is preventing them from being in whole wellness. I guess
Hmm.
that's what I do in a nutshell. How I came to be here, well, we've spoken about this with in the past with the beautiful Patrice Christofiak, who I had a 3 hour long session with. I mean, prior to that, it was funny. I spoke to my cousin today and she said, "Oh no, Peggy, you've always been intuitive. I know that."
Hmm.
And I have always been. But, when it comes in as that claircognizance, you just say, I mean, I didn't see dead people,
Hmm.
I didn't have that, those kind of visions that kids have when they're younger. And then they're talking to their grandfather and they're telling their mom, oh, this is what grandpa said. None of that happened to me. But I did have a very strong sense of intuition in my whole life.
Hmm.
And particularly around reading people. So my kids when they were younger, so I've got two teenage daughters, they're very old. They'd bring me their school yearbook and we
Hmm.
would look at the photographs of the kids and I'd say, oh, well, that he's a bit, does he give the teacher a hard time? And the kids my daughters would go, yes, Mel, how did you know? And I was like, so they would play this game. What about her? And I would just go, oh,
Hmm.
and they go, oh my God, how do you know? I said, I don't know how I knew. So I guess I was tuning into something back then, which was a little party trick for my children. And and I used to be like that when I worked as a teacher as well. I could see what was happening and how do you know, miss? And then I would
Hmm.
just, yeah. So I guess that was always there. But interestingly enough, um, I guess there was a block to really accessing the full range of the gifts. And I haven't really spoken about what was blocking me and why I probably needed to become activated and what happened in that session. So
Hmm.
I went there not, thinking I'd get a bit of help for my knee, who, because I hadn't been able to run and I just wanted to be able to
Hmm.
run and my digestive issues. And I did have some, I delved into learning about past lives and I did have a very strong sense that I'd suffered a lot in a past life and I
Hmm.
needed something help with, clearing. Well, that was like one life. There's 1,000 lives of suffering. Um, so not only that, so it was the type of suffering that stops you and creates fear in your subconscious and at a soul level or in your subconscious level actually about stepping into doing particular things. So one of the
Hmm.
things that Patrice, and this is what he's really good at, and you're really good at this as well, actually, Marysol, which is, you know, if why are we not accessing our channeling or our crown chakra? Well, we have these very strong memories of being killed for
Hmm.
practicing and healing and so many lifetimes as a healer, a priestess, or a master of something, and you're getting your head chopped off or you're getting
Hmm.
burnt at the stake or you're and I think we had a past life together, Marysol, where we were both killed for our gifts. I think you were my mom, actually. I think we had that.
Hmm.
I had a really big session where I was crying, going, "Oh my God, Marysol, you're my mom," and so and dying in these horrible ways. So why would we want to access them again? Because
Hmm.
our subconscious is telling us that we could die
Yeah.
from showing our true selves.
Hmm.
So a lot of people who have that fear of public speaking or that fear of starting a new job or starting a new business. I mean, this actually just happened in a session we had in a group session with Patrice, where
Hmm.
somebody says, oh, I want to start a new business, but I've got this fear. And it's like, oh yeah, well, of course your business just was destroyed the last time in a past
Mm-hmm.
life. So it just stops you
Mm.
from becoming your authentic self. So I guess so I was lucky enough that at the end of that 3 hours that I'd cleared enough past lives for all of a sudden, bang, my crown
Mm-hmm.
chakra straight up. And then
Yeah.
the messages started coming in, and my heart chakra opened up as well, and my
Mm.
throat. So I was able to start saying, this is what's happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think, I knew that I wasn't going to be killed
Yeah.
on that day. But then what's interesting is that, the more you step into your true authentic self, whatever it is, the path that is that you want,
Mm.
whether it's just a teacher, it could be a baker, it could be whatever you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
If you're finding that there are hurdles, that there could be some past lives related to that. So anyway, that's
Yes.
basically how I became what I became. And um and that's how I ended up, when I chose medical intuition as the modality rather than sort of
Mm-hmm.
energy healer or those words. I didn't resonate with those words healer.
Mm-hmm.
I really resonated with that, the more sort of scientific way of looking at the body, even though
Mm-hmm.
this is hard to prove from science. And I've always loved all things medical. Like my friends
Yeah.
used to call me Dr. Google because I
Oh.
knew that. So I've always been very intrigued about the body and the mind and
Mm-hmm.
disease and how it's formed and, what influences and how we can get better and the power of the body to help
Mm.
heal itself.
Yes.
So that's about in a nutshell.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And it's so beautiful when that moment comes when someone, as you've just described for yourself, really embraces that path of what's meant to come through and what you're here to share,
Mhm.
and your beautiful gifts to put them to use and to share them with the world. So there's
Oh,
such beauty in that when that is embraced and then, yeah, and practiced. Then
yeah.
yes. And I
Yes.
agree with what you say about the term healer because um, I mean, in the end, we don't really do anything, do we? We're just a
Mm,
channel for it. So I used to say I'm an intuitive sound and energy healer, but now I say I'm an intuitive sound healer and energy channel because sound healer is a term that is used in that way, so I stick to it. But
mhm,
I say energy channel because I'm not the
mm,
healer. I'm just that person that I offer myself as that channel for
mm.
a possibility to for a healing to occur.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, that's correct. And I think that what we're doing, to kind of explain it, is that we're holding a frequency
Hmm.
or a vibration that is, yeah, I guess it's like holding space and allowing, and as our vibration will hit somebody else, it helps them
Hmm.
shed the lower densities. It's almost like we're, pushing out the lower density things that are meant to be released at that
Yeah.
time. We can't push everything out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I get a vacuum cleaner, I think I'm called Patriot, like,
Hmm.
like a cosmic vacuum cleaner or
Yes.
something of that nature, or a leaf blower, I think that's
Hmm.
a good one too.
Hmm.
I like that
Yeah.
analogy.
Yes.
It seems to resonate. Because I really love the idea that people are stepping into their own healing journey and just embracing that support.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I love about this
Yes.
modality. Mm.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah, and we are the bridge between worlds. So I think that's a beautiful way to see it. I find to bridge the worlds and to be that point in that now moment where change can happen and things can shift. To just be of assistance with that. And yeah, so thank you for sharing all of
Thank
that.
you.
And
And
I want to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, and it is a privilege to be able to share in that journey. And like,
Hmm.
yeah, I think it's just to witness it and be a part of that it's like a privilege. It's like, yeah, that's how I view it.
Yes, I agree. So you do group work as well, apart from seeing clients in one-on-one sessions. And can you speak a bit about what it is that happens in these group sessions and in terms of amplification, what happens in
Mm.
that, your experience with that?
Oh, look, I think the people that are joining our groups, well, I mean, I say our groups, and I'd like to just put a caveat out there. So Patrice and Amy have groups. You and Amy have groups. Patrice has his own group. Amy and I have done groups together, and I've going to start my own one, but Patrice and Amy will join. So it's
Hmm.
when I say us, I guess it's this collection of the four of us that we have that we are
Hmm.
supporting each other. Um, so the groups that I've been privy to, so it's really interesting. So one-on-one is, it's actually a very powerful modality, but the two of us together, it's not double, it's a huge amplification. Now, if you
Hmm.
add 8, 10, 20, 30 people in that group, everybody is sitting there with the intention to there's such beautiful heart space, heart-centered people on these calls. So it's not just the people who are facilitating, it's all the others on the group as
Hmm.
well, who are holding this beautiful space, this beautiful heart space of just connection and community
Hmm.
and this craziness, because sometimes there's a lot of craziness that happens, and laughter and joy. And what I love about the groups is that when you have one person who wants to shed something, for example, inevitably there is a connection from a past life, every single time. It's never a random group. There is always a connection. So whatever one person is shedding, that person needed to be on that group call to
Hmm.
really do that, probably more so than in a one-on-one session. It would be faster because the other person who probably did the bad deed in the past, or vice versa, they can quickly clear their karmic ties. And
Hmm.
then everyone is holding them in this loving, healing space, and it just gets released. So it's absolutely mind-blowing. And that's what I love about that. And we need this community. If we look at
Hmm.
Indigenous cultures, and there's a lot of other, they had healing circles, they had groups of people together, like
Hmm.
person is surrounded by a village when they're ill or suffering or in grief, and it's this, we just don't have that
Yeah.
in our society. I've got to log on a Zoom call
Hmm.
to do it. So that's what I love about the groups. And I think that when you're sharing in your grief and everyone is, sending the most beautiful messages in the group chat, and you can see people with their eyes closed, and they're not professional, they're not doing this as a job, they're just there with their beautiful hearts, and you can see them, and they're just sending love to the person who's been chosen to shed whatever needs to be
Hmm.
shed. So there's those, the format of Patrice and Amy's one of group is just, you just select somebody and you
Hmm.
work on them, whatever their issue is. And then there's other protocols where Amy is speaking, and releasing particular body parts where there can be stuff stored. And again, everybody's supporting each other in this beautiful collective, I don't know, group hug. There was
Hmm.
one lady on tonight, she just said, thank you for this beautiful group hug.
Hmm.
Um, well, it was quite joyful. So I
Yeah.
think we have to, as a society, I really believe that to heal and connect, I say heal, and I'm talking about healing our society and
Mm.
the fractured separateness that we are,
Hmm.
um to we have to come together and as
Yes.
community. And I think there's so many people around the world that are doing this, like incredible spiritual, beautiful people that are creating these groups. And
Mm.
yeah, and then what happens is that, those people, they shed their stuff, and then they go back to their family and they have a higher vibration. And then we have all these little pockets of people that have higher vibration, and we have less
Mm.
anger in the world. That's my goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's beautiful. It really is so wonderful to come together in this way. And and I mean, it's beautiful that we have the possibility to do so online as well and to
Yeah.
gather from all around the world and create this web of light and support each other.
Mhm.
And yeah, thank you. You've described that in a really beautiful
Yeah.
way.
And there's so
And
many lonely
yeah.
people too. That's what I want to
Hmm.
say, that they just live by themselves, and or they've gone on a spiritual journey and they haven't really found people like,
Mm,
in their peer groups or friends that are on the same path. And so you can see this longing and this like, um, yeah, there's such a warmth and gratitude for, this heartfelt connection because
mm,
it's completely heartfelt. It's the real
yes.
deal. Like nobody's,
Yeah.
you know, we're not fake.
No,
You can't be
no,
fake. Yeah.
no. Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I do want to address one issue with the groups that I think is very important. So, in this format that you've described, where people get picked and then a certain issue may be addressed. So, of course, in these groups, there may be 40, 50, 60 or more people. And so, of course, not everybody can be picked. And some people may have a worry that they miss out when they're not picked. But of course, as you said, groups are never random. So there's a reason why a group comes together in a certain way
Mm,
and why somebody is chosen. And if you're not chosen, it doesn't mean you don't receive just as much and what you're meant
mm,
to receive in that space. So, can you maybe address that issue of how the people that may not be picked still receive all the benefits
hmm.
and the energy that they're meant to in that
Yeah.
session?
I think, yeah, you could probably do a better job than me, but the way you described it. But I think it's absolutely true because the thing is that if you set the intention at the start of the session with,
Mm,
I'm going to release whatever I need to release, and you can just set that intention at the start of the group session,
mm,
whether you're chosen or not. There's a divine will of this because we are all part of this unity consciousness. We are all actually all one. So
yeah.
what is released in one is released in all.
Mm,
And so that is how it works. But you have to sit in this heart space and trust and surrender to the process. And they're not going to have more people on the group call. This is not a, like how much money can we make in a session? Like
yeah.
that's not what this is about.
No.
This is around, the groups are capped to how many people in that group can get a benefit from this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how it works, is that you have everyone part of the grid, I guess, is what
Mm,
we're all plugged into the grid. And when you actually set the intention, pay your money and sit down, even when you pay
mm,
your money, you're actually telling, there's an agreement between you, Patrice, Amy, and whoever else is doing that releasing on that group. It starts releasing then.
mm-hmm.
And even your higher self is already going, yes, okay. And all the divine team who are supporting you are all going, right, okay, she's ready to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And so believe it or not, and it might be subtle, but you have to have that trust and surrender to that process
Mm,
because once you know that, the suffering of one person is released, it's shedding layers in your own body. And you
mm,
really have to, you just keep focusing on your heart space and breathing into it as the other people are going through it could be their dark night of their soul. It could be a kundalini. They could be shaking and doing
yeah.
all sorts of stuff or speaking this weird light language. Trust that that is having a positive effect
Mm,
on you.
yes. I actually have two examples for that, if I may share them briefly.
Please, yes, oh, please do. Yes.
So, for one of the group sessions of Patrice, it's quite a while ago, my mom joined, and she had had this back pain for quite a while. It was very, very painful when she walked, and usually she has like no pain, nothing. But this she couldn't get rid of. And she wasn't picked in the group. I don't even think she raised her hand. And she said after the group session, the pain was gone. That had
Wow.
plagued her for months. So
Mm,
she was just present in that space, and as you described, trusting and open and ready. And she received exactly what she needed to release that pain, whatever that may
mm,
have been in that session. But
yeah.
after that session, it disappeared.
Yeah. Wow.
And and just recently in a group session, I mean,
There are so
I
many stories like this, isn't there? Yeah.
I
It's
know,
pretty
but it's
incredible.
beautiful because it shows the
Yeah.
synchronicity and the flow of energy. And I'm always amazed by it, even though I encounter these things so often now in my
Yeah.
life. But I'm just moved by it every time, like a little child that's just happy about
Oh,
it.
I
Yeah.
agree.
And
Yeah.
it was so interesting because in one of the group sessions, there were about, I think, a little over 40 people with Patrice. And my attention was drawn. So I had gallery view, and my attention was drawn to a woman. And I thought, she needs to be picked. That's the woman he picked next. And it
Of
kept
course.
going. After that, there were only a few men, and I thought, okay, the next one's going to be a man. It was a man. After that, my gaze went to a woman, and I thought, she's next. He picked her, and it just kept going. And I was
Wow.
like, I guess I was so tuned in. I just saw the movement of the energy,
Yeah.
and he picked exactly the people that my attention was drawn to.
Yeah.
And and I'm just sharing this to show that there is a higher guidance and
Yeah.
intelligence in that, and that everything comes together in the way that it's meant to, and everybody receives in the way they're meant to if you're open in the way that you've described. So I just wanted to share that because
Yeah, that's
um,
incredible. That I love that. And it's basically saying, exactly. It's the, this is channeled through Patrice or Amy get messages. And got anything to do with Patrice's ego or,
no.
it's literally channeled. So it's the same channeling. It's the same,
Mm,
that you're
mm,
hearing. That's incredible. I know I have a story too where my two sisters who were on one of the calls about a month ago, they turned their camera off, but they said when there was one guy who got picked, they were shaking him all over the
mm,
place when he was releasing his stuff. Like it
yeah.
was really visceral. I mean, my sister did get chosen, and then that was early on in the call, and then yeah, and then she was shaking like she said, "Oh my God, I couldn't stop shaking," and I was like,
Mm,
and yeah. So I think and you can see it on the call if people leave the cameras on. You can see the reactions everybody's
yes.
having,
Yes.
if you're open. But I think if you're new, you're gonna go, huh, like is anything happening?
Hmm.
But just sit with that understanding that we are all part of unity consciousness and trust in the process.
Yes.
Because I think it's a very, very powerful thing. So,
Mm,
and it's interesting, speaking about that, because the group that I'm going to be running next in March
hmm.
is specifically about karma. So you have to trust that whatever, if you are in that karma call, you have karma with someone. Now, I don't
Yeah.
know if should like karma is it's quite a loaded, well, I guess it's from
Mm,
it's got a real, Buddhist or Eastern philosophy
hmm.
kind of, or Indian, Hindu philosophy around you do something, you're going to come back as a goat, right? Like that's that really, that philosophy that, it's a cause and effect. If you
Mm,
act in a way that is in a bad way, then the universe says, no, you should be punished. This is really difficult for that kind of Christian upbringing where we have just, you know, Jesus will forgive your sins. You screw up on a Friday, you go, and I always grew up Catholic, so you could just go straight to the priest on Sunday. Father, please forgive me. And
hmm.
then, yeah, okay, your slate is cleaned. Well, that's one tiny thing in the process of asking for forgiveness from God, but it's not that straightforward. And
Hmm.
and I think that, what I've understood from karma is quite a unique thing that people people have sometimes arrived on this earth and they just go, why have I got such a heavy load? Why am I burdened with all of these challenges? And when we start tuning into the past lives, you're like,
Mm.
oh, do you want the good news or the bad news?
Yeah.
Like, okay, serial killer, all right, or actually, and it's quite interesting. And I mean, I laugh, but these things have happened.
Hmm.
And then what happens is that in this lifetime, or they have taken on all of their karma from their ancestors
Hmm.
and they're clearing the karmic debt. Now, why do you need to clear karmic debt? Is to ascend into 5D. Now, can we prove that? We cannot prove that. This is just the spiritual way of looking at it. And there's something that I've channeled, and I know you've channeled similar information.
Mm.
What's your experience with karma and your understanding of it? I'd be interesting to hear.
Well, like you say, like just the word karma, everyone probably has their own version and beliefs around it.
Mm,
But like you said, I do believe that everything is interconnected and that
mm,
outside of this earth, time does not exist. So everything
mm,
happens at the same time and everything is connected and influences each other. So it's
mm,
this huge web of all that is, and everything moves and flows together. So I do believe that, of course, we all have our own unique path with cause and effect. I like
mm,
that term, cause and effect. There's
mm,
a if you act, if you do something, there's an effect in the field, in your life, in the world, with those connected to you as well. So, of course, to your bloodlines, your ancestors, everything is
Mm,
connected. So, I do believe that we now, where we are in this incarnation, especially at this time, where we're moving into a whole new way of being and era,
mm.
that things can also be resolved much quicker than maybe a decade
Yes,
ago. It
yes.
just goes much faster. So if you're ready for it, and if you dare to go into that, shifts can
Mm,
occur on profound levels pretty quickly sometimes. I'm
it's pretty,
amazed how fast it goes sometimes.
yes.
And so, yes, I do believe it is part of this whole what we call ascension, moving into something
Mm,
higher vibrational, however you'd like to describe it.
mm.
And
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think it,
yeah, sorry, just to finish it, the thought, I think it's something that you shouldn't be scared of, but see it more
yeah.
like a game. It's not like, oh God, I have to, and this, and it's also, ugh. And there may be things that are uncomfortable when you move through, but it's actually, it's not as serious as it sometimes sounds, We are on this incredible journey and everything's a part of it. And I do try to see it as a game sometimes to just lift some of that heaviness and seriousness. And Patrice's golden rule, smile, keep your
Yeah.
joy, keep your curiosity. And there are
Mm,
so many ways to do all of this. So yeah, I hope that
yeah.
answers your question.
I
But
love it. I actually love your explanation. It's so much better than mine. I think that I love the fact that when you think of it as a game, because it is an earth game, right? So,
mhm,
I mean, if we're up there, with whoever it is, God, whoever you believe in, or the karma council, and we're saying, okay, I'm going to go back and what should I pick? Well, you could use some financial difficulties and maybe your house burned down. That'll get you up the ladder faster. Okay, well, what else can I pick? Because I'm going to get rid of it all. I want to get rid of it all in this lifetime. So it's kind of like you choose your earth experience. I mean, I think to a certain extent there's that, those lower vibrational, those challenges. And what happens is if you can move through those challenges in that
mm,
sort of full surrender of the process and trusting that this is something that we chose um, to move and to I guess overcome. And then we've ticked that karma box of,
mm,
okay, you overcame that. You're moving up
mm,
the cosmic ladder or the cosmic scoreboard or whatever it is, whatever analogy you want to use. Now, I do want to put a caveat in that because I do think that there are some earth experiences that people don't sign up for. Like, I
mm,
think there is a darkness that has infiltrated and that we don't go, okay, well, I'm going to choose this, torture, et cetera, et cetera. Or like, I think there are some things that some earth experiences that are not part of what we call the earth game, and that
mm,
there's this horrible other, I don't
yeah,
know how to describe it, but
mm,
it doesn't feel like the duality that we're supposed to experience. We
mhm,
have this duality. We've got sadness, grief, anger, rage, um, judgment, fear, jealousy, envy. And then we have all our happier, like our positive emotions, compassion,
mm,
love, joy. But the extreme end of that suffering, and we can't prove this, but part of me believes that there are some other horrible forces that
mm,
hijack that earth
yeah,
experience for
yeah,
us.
mm,
Um, Now that might be a far stretch and a little bit too down the rabbit hole, but I think, that helped me understand, like, when I went from atheism to, why would a God allow this to, okay, we are all love and light.
mm,
But there is also a darkness that
yeah,
that God didn't have control over. I don't know. I don't know if that even makes sense, or God or universe or divine, or it's a tough question, but I think it answers it for some people that have been through an extreme amount of suffering, because you go,
mm,
well, hang on, how did, when you think of the most horrific things, which I don't even want to mention, but the
mm,
worst levels of,
mm,
PTSD and all those horrible things that happen to children.
mm,
Um, why would a God or a divine being allow, why would they allow that to happen on
mm,
earth?
yeah. Yeah, that's
So,
probably one of the
s-
most difficult questions to ask for sure. Yeah.
yeah. But from a, luckily from a love, sitting in heart space and helping somebody move through that
Hmm.
suffering, we do have the technology and capacity to help people move
Yes.
through that in a really
Yes.
gentle and loving way. And of course, medical disclaimer, always work with your licensed mental health practitioners and your physicians and all of that. We would never say we cure anybody or anything like that. You would
No.
continue to be part of, use your team around you if you've been suffering. But this is something that can definitely enhance, support you on that journey
Mm, for sure.
if
Yes.
you're called to, of course.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well, and
so I
that's an
think
important, yeah, that's important that what you said, if you're called to really listen to your intuition and see what you're guided to, because none of us has all the answers. And I think everybody in this field that is authentic and is truly heart-based will always have a focus on assisting others and finding their own power and discernment and
mm,
listening to their intuition and remembering who they truly are to create the life they wish to lead. So
mm,
it's not, I always say the age of gurus is over, you know, it's
yeah,
about that we see each other in each other and that
mm,
we're all these incredible beings assisting each other to
mm,
come back to that which we are and to embrace that power that we really have.
yeah,
And that's something maybe in that goes into this whole karma thing as well. It's not about guilt, you know, it's not about anything in that way. It's
mm,
about just walking your path to become your true self that you can be and releasing and clearing that which keeps you from it.
yeah.
And yeah, I think that that's it. So do you want to maybe just let people know in the upcoming webinar that you have on March 22nd, right?
Yeah,
What it
so
is that's going to be happening there?
well, yeah, so it's on March 22nd and 23rd, depending on where you are in the
Mm-hmm.
world. So it'll be 5 a.m. Australian time on the 23rd, 22nd in North America and
Mm-hmm.
Europe, and then 5 p.m. Australian time on the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
So there are two times, and basically I'm going to go through a quick little, I call it a webinar, but it's a really, I guess it's the teacher in me going, okay, I'm just going to explain a little bit about what's happening here, so you can get an understanding, because it's not just actions, it's also actually thoughts as well.
Mm-hmm.
And, we all have those judgmental thoughts all day long. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
and you have to say cancel or delete or whatever you have to do, or oh please forgive me, or and you have to kind of really watch your thoughts, because what happens is those thoughts actually just lower your vibration. So I'm just going to
Mm.
teach you a little bit about what karma is, how it's related to past lives, ways that you can live in a way that's sort of not increasing your karmic debt.
Mm.
And so there's a few tidbits and sort of tips on how to do that. And then the last part of it is a meditation where I
Mm-hmm.
bring you through statements and affirmations to help you release any of the karmic frequencies that are stored in particular body parts. So what
Mm-hmm.
we see is that you can have karma stored in your feet, and it might have been from kicking someone, or you would have had your feet or ankles shackled as a slave. Then I move up the body parts through, and we're just looking at the karma that's stored in those
Mm-hmm.
body parts. And then next month, we'll be looking at financial karma, the stuff around money, like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
have you cheated somebody in the past? Have you lied? Have you stolen
Mm-hmm.
money from a previous employer? Now's a chance to try to help release that karmic. So it's going to be finances and relationships, because
Mm-hmm.
the money and relationships, because it's really around, it's not just about money, it's how we are with that person,
Mm-hmm.
cheating, lying, all of those things. So again, affirmations to help release those particular, those ties that you have karmically from this lifetime and past lives.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a process that you can then take away, that you can use on your own when you notice something else come up. You
Mm-hmm.
get a recording of the webinar and you can just write down the statements, and then you can say, okay, you might get in a fight with somebody, or you notice that you didn't like the way you spoke to them. You can you can start say those statements as a way to kind of get back to center and get back to your heart space and understand. And then one of the key things is I'm trying to teach people is to forgive themselves.
Mhm.
Most of our beautiful clients, they're so empathic, they're so kind, they will forgive anybody, anyone,
Yeah,
but they
but not
won't forgive
themselves.
themselves.
Yeah.
The high standards, oh my goodness. So there's a big focus on self-forgiveness.
Hmm.
And collectively, I think that whoever's going to be on the calls, they're going to be some kind of karmic debt connection.
Hmm.
And then if there's time, I will choose a couple of people.
Hmm.
Patrice will be on the call and we'll just help clear any
Yeah.
specific past lives that might be still related to
Mm.
karmic
Yeah,
debt.
that sounds wonderful. And I'm sure all the links will be beneath or below the video.
Yes,
So
yes,
for anyone that wants to take a peek and maybe get a ticket, yes. Well, I can
yes.
highly recommend your groups. They're very powerful. So
Thank you.
yes, thank you for explaining that. So I think we've, yeah, almost run out of time. So maybe just to bring it to a close, do you want to just also mention something about what it means to have your gifts activated? Because I think that's something that happens as well in these sessions, in groups, and it's the time for it. Like we're being
Mm,
called to bring out that which makes us unique and the gifts that we carry. So is there anything maybe as your
mm.
closing words to
Yeah,
share?
look, I think there's some people that are quite frustrated because they want to have gifts. I want to have gifts. Do I have gifts? When is
Hmm.
my gift going to come in? And I'm not hearing anything and I can't check. Like, why are they? Well, one of the most important things is that your gifts are going to be different to other people's gifts.
Hmm.
And when you clear the karma, when you clear the past lives, things will come back online. And it's like a Marvel movie. We all have different gifts, you know. Some people are like the Hulk, other people are like, I can't even remember all that. Thor, I guess, everyone has different gifts. So don't compare yourself, trust the process and surrender. But you've got to absolutely be in your heart space. It's
Mm.
like the universe doesn't want people to connect with their gifts unless they're really embodied in their heart space,
Mm.
because it's not, you're getting out of your egoic mind. You're not here to you know, um, prove things or to for power. You really are in your heart space and you want to serve people, but it's from a pure heart way. Like, I
Hmm.
don't know if that makes. So there's a couple of blocks that people will have if they're not activating their gifts, and sometimes that, and also it just might be your path in this lifetime that you are not going to be fully activated in your gifts, and that's just how it is.
Mm.
Um, does that, I think, does that cover everything? Oh, yeah, I think that really, look, light language, if you can, one of the things that happens in those sessions is that we help clear that throat chakra.
Mm.
Well, you actually are the expert in this, but we help clear the throat chakra for speaking and vibrating or making sounds or doing that light
Hmm.
language. And once we do that, that really seems to unlock something.
Mm.
And once the voice is heard, then it seems to help the rest of the energy flow from the base of the spine, up to the crown and through the third eye, etc.
Mm.
What do you
Yes.
think? Is there anything you wanted to add about gift activation?
No, I mean, I think you've summed it up pretty well. I think the most important thing truly is to not compare yourselves. And I think we
Yeah.
all do that and have to
Mm,
remind ourselves to not do that. And
mm,
that some gifts may be more subtle than we think. It's not always
mm,
going to be the booming voice that comes into the room. So that's where that comes in, what you said, to be really aligned and in your heart space,
yeah.
where you're in that space where you can receive, and it's also practicing it,
Yeah.
like everything. It's something you practice, and when you notice the synchronicities and you get feedback, you learn to trust deeper and deeper
Mm,
and deeper. So it's also a path of
mm,
discovery, of going deeper, and it's also about the relationship you have with yourself. So that was a
mm,
huge thing for me, as you know my story, but to
mm,
release those things you judge about yourself, to come to a loving place with yourself. Because
mm,
if you judge yourself very harshly, you're not going to have the alignment and the openness to truly receive. So to be kind to yourself, gentle, and take it step by
mm,
step, and see how you can come to a more
Mm.
loving way of being with yourself, and to then also have fun, to
Yes.
explore what is it that you bring to this world. And as you said, it may be completely different than how somebody else does it. And that's the beauty of it, that there are so
Hmm.
many unique ways of doing things, and people can choose how it resonates with them and
Yeah.
how they would like to go about it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
but
love
being
that.
in your heart space and trusting and not comparing yourself
Yeah.
is very important for sure. Yeah.
Well, that any of that judgment and that's actually bad karma. Like
Mm.
it's like it's not just about others, it's about yourself. But you actually have a group where you have to talk about because you've created a group to help people practice their cosmic gifts. Would you like to
Yes.
explain that? Yeah, you tell them too. Yeah.
Sure. It's the group I've created with Amy. So it's called Sacred Space to Explore your Cosmic Self and Your Cosmic Gifts. And so it's a beautiful group where we have a short intro meditation, and then we do a closing at the end. And it's a safe space for people to just try out their gifts, to tune in, to see, what do I receive? What do others receive as their synchronicity? We'll call someone up that says, I have an issue, I need some help with this or this, and we'll see who
Mm.
feels called to assist. And we guide the process. And it's beautiful to see the synchronicities and how people dare to take that step and share their gifts. So it's a beautiful space to just try it out, and we really enjoy it.
I love it. And I've actually put a link to your website from in my on my website so
Oh,
people can
thank you.
find you. Yes, so people can find you. I've put you as a sound healer and energy channeler, as that's how I've put you. So I didn't put your name, but when they click on it, it says Marysol Vision.
Thank you.
And so anybody who's searching, and well, we'll put links all on the bottom of the
Hmm.
show, but yeah, I think you just try it all out, try the groups. And you've got courses coming up too. And anyway, it'll all be there underneath this underneath the show notes. So yeah, I
Yes.
think it's such a wonderful offerings, these groups that we have
Hmm.
for people to connect and test out their cosmic gifts, clear their karma, clear their body parts,
Hmm.
and possibly activate their gifts.
Yes, absolutely. Well, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you, Peggy, as always.
Thank you.
And yeah, I hope that many people find their way to your beautiful offerings, and I know they're going to be very powerful. So, is there anything that you want to share before we?
No,
Um,
I think we've covered it all in terms of the group stuff. And yeah, I'm just grateful to have this wonderful, I've had the most incredible emails, and it's such a beautiful
mhm.
community of people who are taking on this journey and this path of in this kind of work. And yeah, just super grateful for all the wonderful comments. But like and subscribe, that's, I guess I have to push that, the channel. Hey, we've got to push that for our channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Peggy, and thank you everyone for listening. And enjoy your path, whatever that may be.
I love it.
Bye.